Hey there. Ever feel like everyone's talking about real estate, but you're kind of nodding along like you get it when you really don't?
Yeah, it's kind of like its own language, right?
Exactly. But luckily, that's what this deep dive is for. Today, we're taking your audio notes on real estate basics and like really breaking them down.
Absolutely. It's about understanding the rules of the game so you can start playing strategically.
Love that analogy.
Mm-hmm.
And your notes start with the basics, right? Different types of properties.
Right. It's more than just like houses versus apartments. You've got single family homes, SFHs, we call them. Those are your standalone houses. And then there's duplexes, 2 units. And then you've got your condos or townhouses. Those are attached units and come with their own, quirks.
Your notes actually mention how even just the word house can be tricky in real estate.
Oh, yeah, totally. It's not just about how it looks, it's about ownership and all that.
Right. Like how many units are on the property, who manages those units. There's a lot more to it than you'd think.
For sure. That's where knowing these little differences becomes super important, especially if you're thinking about investing.
Okay, so let's say we've got the different types down. What about all the financial stuff? Mortgages, equity, cash flow. Those always seem to come up.
Ready to decode them?
Let's do it.
Okay, picture this. You find your dream home listed at, let's say, $150,000.
Okay.
Now, most of us don't have that kind of cash just lying around. So enter the mortgage. It's basically a loan you get from a bank to cover what you don't have after you put down a down payment.
So the down payment is what you pay up front.
Yep, your contribution.
Your notes mentioned 10%, so in this case, that'd be $15,000.
Exactly.
So you'd get a mortgage for the remaining $135,000.
You got it. But here's the thing. Banks don't just give out free money, right?
Right.
They charge you interest on that loan. Think of it like a rental fee for using their cash.
That makes sense. So say the interest rate is like 6%. How does that actually work?
Well, the bank takes that interest rate, factors in the loan amount, and how long you'll take to pay it back, usually 15 or 30 years, and that determines your monthly payment.
In your notes, you had an example of $800 a month. Okay, so that covers the mortgage payment. But what about cash flow? Is that where renting comes in?
You got it. You're renting out this $150,000 house for, let's say, $1,000 a month.
Okay.
Mortgage is $800. You're getting $1,000. That $200 difference, that's cash flow, your profit after the mortgage payment.
So cash flow is basically your monthly income from the property minus what you owe on the mortgage each month.
Exactly.
Sounds kind of nice, actually.
It can be. But here's where it gets a little tricky. That $800 mortgage payment isn't the whole picture. You've also got things like property taxes, insurance. Ever heard of PITI?
I think so, yeah. Principal, interest, taxes, and insurance.
Bingo. It's like a little cheat sheet to remember all the costs of owning a home. And if you forget about these when you're calculating your cash flow, things can get messy.
So you really got to factor in all the costs, not just the mortgage payment itself.
Absolutely, especially with something as big as real estate, right? Knowledge is power. Now, ready to tackle equity.
Hit me with it. I feel like it's important, but still a little fuzzy on what it actually means.
Basically, equity is how much of the property you actually own. It's the difference between what the property's worth right now and what you still owe on the mortgage.
So, like, if the house is now worth $200,000, but you only owe $135,000, you've got $65,000 in equity.
Nailed it. Every time you make a mortgage payment, you're building equity. And if the property value goes up, even better. It's like a savings account that's connected to your property.
So it's like you own more of it over time, and that more is worth more as the house value increases.
Exactly. It's all connected. And that's what makes this stuff so interesting.
It's true. It's like we're learning a new language here. So we've got mortgages, down payments, interest rates, cash flow, equity. Those are some pretty important pieces.
Definitely the building blocks for understanding real estate. But we've just scratched the surface. There's a lot more to uncover.
Which we'll do right after this quick break. Okay, so we've laid some groundwork here, but my notes mention that even if you think you've got your mortgage payments all figured out, things can still like shift around. What's up with that?
Ah, you've hit on one of those key mortgage things. Remember PITI? Principal, interest, taxes, insurance.
Right.
Well, that monthly payment might seem fixed, but the part that goes to each of those things, it can actually change.
Something about the principal and interest thing changing.
You got it. Early on in your mortgage, more of your payment goes toward the interest. And as you pay down a principal, it flips. More money goes towards owning the place outright.
Oh, okay. So it's like you're kind of slowly gaining more control with each payment.
Exactly. And you know those charts they show you,
Yeah.
where you can see how much goes where each month.
Yeah, the amortization charts.
Those. Super helpful for the long game. And just like that principal and interest thing, property taxes and insurance can change too.
So even with a fixed interest rate, your payment could still go up or down.
Exactly. That's why budgeting for those changes, even if they seem small, is so important.
It's like a real estate curveball.
Totally. Now, you ever hear that saying, buy low, sell high?
Oh, yeah, all the time. It seems easier said than done, though, right?
It's the golden rule, but in real life, it's way more complicated. Knowing the words is one thing, but market trends, a good deal, timing, that's where it gets interesting.
Right, like knowing chess pieces versus winning the game.
Exactly. You got to see the whole board, think local market stuff, the
Yeah.
economy, even just what's being built in the area.
So how do you even wrap your head around all that?
It's a lot. And that's why people turn to the pros. Real estate agents, property managers, financial people, they know their stuff.
Makes you realize there's so many ways to approach real estate, huh?
Yeah.
Some people want a forever home, others want to flip for a profit.
And then there's those who rent for that nice long-term income. It's a whole world out there.
It's like a whole real estate buffet. You can pick your investment style.
Right. And just like with food, everyone's got their own tastes.
Makes you think, are there like personality types for each approach?
That's interesting. I mean, there's no rule book, but I've definitely noticed some things. Like people who love digging into data, figuring out the market, they tend to do well with those long-term investments.
Makes sense.
Ah,
Got to be patient for that. What about the flippers? The ones who buy, fix up, and sell quickly. That seems like a whole different animal.
right. Flipping is more for the people who can spot potential fast, aren't afraid to get their hands dirty.
Love that. Sounds exciting.
It is. But it's important to know yourself, right? Your strengths, what you're comfortable with before jumping in.
For sure. Speaking of jumping in, my notes mentioned real estate being great for building wealth. How does that actually work?
You're getting to the heart of it. It all comes back to equity. Remember how it grows over time?
Yeah, like a savings account, but better.
Way better. Plus, there's rental income too. You can actually make money while you own the property.
Wow. This deep dive has been amazing. I feel like I actually get it now.
That's what we like to hear. Knowledge is power, right?
It really is.
Yeah.
I feel way more confident about this whole real estate world now.
That's awesome. And hey, the learning never stops, especially in real estate.
So true. There's always something new to learn. Makes you wonder, how do you even keep up with it all? Guess that's something to think about as you continue your own real estate journey. And hey, thanks for joining us for this deep dive.